Welcome back to the Go Show. This is your host, Albert Go, your weekly dose of crypto using my stories for your investment. This is the second part of the series called What's Your Problem? The first part is about wealth. Today is about health. I noticed that during the pandemic, the Facebook profiles of people, I see all of them are black. Every day, we see people who are dying. Rest in peace. My parents just passed away. Join the intermittent. This is the Zoom link. And I would see all these masses being held over Zoom of people who have died because of COVID, flu, cancer, diabetes, heart attack, and many other terminal illness. And during that 3-4 year period, I saw that poor people, middle class people, millionaires, even billionaires have died. For me, when it comes to health, everyone is equal. If you don't take care of your health, whether you're a poor person or a rich person, you will suffer the consequences. That's why this episode, we will tackle health and what it means to have a rich mindset when it comes to health. When I graduated in 2006, my first job was with GE Money or GE Capital. My focus was always about career development, increasing my salary, moving up the corporate ladder, having more money in the bank account, and being a very significant person. That was my priority all the way until probably my late 20s. When I moved to Singapore, every day I would work hard, even stay until the wee hours of the night, working and doing multiple tasks in order to please our executive director. And I felt not just the sense of satisfaction of being praised or seeing an increase in my pay, I also suffered a lot physically. In my early 20s, I was able to get by with it. But as I turned 29, 30, I started to fall sick. I was working overseas. I did not have my parents and I was single at that time. Every day after working, I would go out, party with friends. Sometimes we would go out on drinking and also eat out, having buffets. I would compensate the high salary and think that, I deserve this. I can go out and spend on buffets and eat everything that I wanted, burgers, fries, even coffee at late night. And I felt that I was invincible in my 20s. But when I reached 30, my life actually started to change. I started to see the effects of it. High blood pressure. I would get sick and have flu and call in sick. And my boss started to say, Albert, maybe you should have yourself checked. And when I went to see the specialists, they were telling me that working hard and being promoted wouldn't mean anything if you didn't take care of your personal and your physical well-being. So I was part of the Filipino community of overseas workers. We would play basketball and go to the gym every weekend. And one of them, while playing basketball, wasn't feeling well one afternoon. And that weekend, when I went back home, I just got a text message that he suffered a stroke. And that person, I knew he was kind of chunky and overweight. And on weekends, he would just eat everything, hot dogs and fries and rice, breakfast, lunch, dinner. And I never knew that in his 30s that he would actually just collapse one evening and suffer a stroke months after he actually passed away. That was the turning point for me while I was working in Singapore. That actually was the beginning of how I started to change my mindset when it comes to health. Before, I would have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I would have rice. That's what every Filipino would do. Rice for breakfast, we call it tapsilog. Rice for lunch. In Singapore, they're very known for chicken rice. Rice for dinner, I would have char siu. And the other one is roast pork rice. Everything, rice, every day. Rice is life. Again, it relates to unlearning what was taught to me in my family and also in school was the standard American diet. They call it SAD, the SAD diet. I did not know that that was not fit for me. And what I learned in trying to take care of my health was that this high-carb diet did not fit me as my body actually started to change as I turned 30. In fact, when I hit 30, my mindset changed to it's all about preservation, as what I was calling it. I started to eat less and eat only what I needed to fill my stomach. And anything in excess would actually be counterproductive and would worsen my health. So with my trigger of my basketball playmate who collapsed and died, I have to unlearn a lot of the bad habits. I had to throw it away because it was not going to help me live long and be sustainable. I had to put new habits, build new patterns for me to take charge of my personal well-being when it comes to health. How did I do it? So there are 3 steps that I did. First is about awareness. Second is the process of elimination. And then third is putting things that I really want, which may not be good, but doing it in moderation so that I can have a win-win type of scenario where I enjoy life, but still doing it in a sustainable way. First is about awareness. I listed down everything that I was eating every day. I was listing down, I was buying chocolates. I was drinking coffee with sugar and dairy milk. Third is I was listing down rice. How many times did I eat rice in a day? Not once, not twice, but 3 times. Then third, I looked at everyone around me. How come all the Singaporeans are skinny? And here I am. How come all the Filipinos around me are overweight? It's because of our diet. So I was looking at everything that I was doing, all the food that I was consuming every day, and I know that this is not good for me. Something is not right. This is causing me to have irritable bowel syndrome, which is what the doctor was warning me of. Second is taking too much sugar, making me have inflammation from every part of my body. And I knew that by listing down everything, I can do the second part, which is the process of elimination. The first thing that I did was to take out sugar. Chocolates was good. I took it out drastically. It was so difficult for me, but I had to take it out. What I did was I looked at alternatives, and the alternative was actually getting dark chocolate. I started with 70% dark chocolate. Second, increasing it to 85% dark chocolate. And lastly, was consuming 90% dark chocolate. I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't start slow. And I started with 70%. Now I'm used to consuming 90% dark chocolate. I'm still able to do it, but the effect of it is I got rid of the inflammation because of sugar consumption. Second is taking black coffee. Everybody thinks that coffee is healthy, but if you're taking 3-in-1 coffee with sugar every day, at some point in your mid-30s or 40s, you will see it in your stomach, the size of your stomach, or you will start to see the pain of having arthritis and having painful different parts of your body. I guarantee by removing that sugar, most likely you would see less of that inflammation coming from your body. That's the second thing that I did. Third is rice. Having high carb diet was good when I was in my teens, when I was hyperactive and participating in track and field, running and swimming. But in the workforce, I didn't have the time to compete. I did not have the time to exercise and spend 3-4 hours in training because I was, like what I said, focusing on not just pleasing my boss and being promoted and having lots of cash in the bank account, but I was spending too much time there that I couldn't compensate the overconsumption of rice and sugar by burning it. There's no way that I could burn it because I was spending too much time in the office. I had to first remove rice from having 3 cups of rice, sometimes having 2 cups of rice in every meal. Having 6 cups of rice will definitely make you chunky down there. So what I did was to remove it slowly and then replace it, in fact, with more complex carbohydrates, and that is through consuming leafy green vegetables. And now I have to say that I can live without having rice. I would just consume leafy green vegetables, breakfast, lunch, and even dinner. And that fills my stomach, and I would say that has actually lowered my blood pressure, and now I haven't taken any medication from any doctor after. 3 important things that I took away. In the process of elimination, I had to remove chocolate. Secondly is to remove rice. Thirdly is to remove 3-in-1 coffee. I replaced it with better alternatives, having 90% dark chocolate. Secondly is replacing white rice with leafy green vegetables. And thirdly, 3-in-1 coffee, I've replaced it with black coffee. Now, the unforeseen benefit of what I learned or unlearned when it comes to health has helped me. Now, how? Now, this is funny because my view now has drastically changed that for some people, they might think this is extreme. But I don't see it as extreme because I do OMAD, which is called 1 meal a day. I feel that food has become an addiction for most people. When they're lonely, they eat. When they're happy, they eat. When they're upset, they eat. When they're mad, they eat. With all feelings, if you base it on feelings, all you do is eat. We have an eating problem for most people. So they'd rather not take drugs, but they eat. Don't you think that by eating too much, that is bad for your health? There is no difference between taking drugs and eating 6-10 times a day. Face the reality that by consuming too much, that is detrimental to your health. For me, the positive impact of 1 meal a day is that it helps me save more. Imagine, I'll give you an example. By eating 90% dark chocolate, I don't consume too much because 1 bar of this dark chocolate, which is just 200 pesos, I'm able to divide it 10 times because there are 10 bars and I only consume 1 small piece of this chocolate in every day. Just 1 piece, that fills my tummy. 1 piece of this chocolate is good enough. Now, second is rice. How many kilos of rice does every Filipino family consume? On average, probably 25 kilos of rice. For me and my family, we have none. Because we don't consume rice. I think everybody in my family will live until they're 110, right? How much we will spend on cancer? None, right? Because we can reverse cancer. Now, how much are we going to spend on drug medication, high blood pressure, lowering of cholesterol? The Western medicine system will be mad at me because they're not going to get any money from me anymore because I'm pure. There's nothing that they can find in me anymore. Did I take that shot? I did not take any of those shots. I don't need it. And last, of course, is the 3-in-1. Actually, if you go to any cafe, the cheapest is black coffee. Anytime you would order a frappuccino, a latte with a coconut milk and all sorts of toppings in it, it's usually twice as much. Black coffee is the cheapest. And I'm telling you, if you go to any grocery, if you order black coffee and if you order it in bulk, you end up saving. So my main takeaway here is health saves lives and health saves money. Last but not the least is walking the talk. I myself am the representation of being able to prove it. When I went to Singapore, I told you I got sick. I had high blood pressure. I was overworked. I accomplished a lot of the career goals that I wanted at the expense of having a detrimental, even near-death situation of having high blood pressure and missing days at work. I couldn't blame anyone. Not my boss, not the doctor. I had to take full responsibility. If I worked hard, it's not because the boss was a slave driver. I also chose to live that life. I can still be productive at work and at the same time be in charge of my own health and wellness. What I did was the process of elimination. I changed my ways. I replaced the toxic type of food with healthier options. I was able to lose weight, join clubs so that I can be active instead of not going to the club and partying and drinking, but going to the gym, participating in healthy clubs so I can be surrounded by people who could go on trekking with me every Saturday and Sunday. We would go to Singapore, Bukit Timah, and go on trekking almost every weekend. Instead of going to clubs, I would join these hiking clubs, and that changed me a lot. And of course, I also should not forget that by doing all these measures, it was able to help me save money in the pocket. All of this I was able to do within 2 years. And the first 2 years of my stint in Singapore was very, very destructive for my personal health. But the last 2 years, I was able to take full responsibility and take charge of my health. And the ultimate result here is I dropped weight probably from over 30% body fat down to less than 10% body fat. I can prove it. I can show you the results there. Second is I was able to increase my monthly savings and spend less on medicines and doctor's fees because I was able to take charge and be healthy in myself. And thirdly is about focusing on sustainability. I was able to think about building sustainable habits, waking up, let's say every day, going to the gym instead of taking a taxi, but walking and using it as my time to exercise. Every day going to the office instead of taking the train, taking a taxi ride, I would walk to the office. That would be my training for the weekend, trekking with my friends. I stopped going to buffets. I stopped going to parties and spending unnecessarily on drinks. And I was able to take charge of my personal health and well-being. And one last hack is about putting the gym inside my house. And this is my way to maximize my time and removing excuses. There is no excuse when it comes to health and wellness. Now, let me end by telling you a story of another billionaire. You know this person. In fact, most of you are holding one of his products and devices. The founder of Apple, Steve Jobs. He is about finding a job that you love. He is known to be one of the most creative, if not the pioneer in computers, in iPods, and now even the legacy continues in the company with Apple Vision. They are always at the top in every industry that they are in, even disrupting the music industry and even Pixar. But Steve Jobs in 2011, he suffered from pancreatic cancer. And this is a disease that many billionaires suffer from in their deathbed. I take you back from the start of this episode that I noticed during the pandemic. In the Facebook profiles of many of my contacts, I saw whether you are poor, you are a middle-class worker, a Filipino migrant worker, a millionaire or a billionaire, many of them died during the pandemic. When it comes to health, we are all equal. And in the last few days of Steve Jobs, I remember what he said. It's not about loving your work anymore. It's about who is holding your hand in the end. I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Go Show. And now I'm very excited to take you to the last part of our series, What's Your Problem? Relationships. See you on our next episode.